All right.
I forgot that was the cue.
Right? Okay, all right, wait, ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3. Hi, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Be Uplifted. Woo! So we're missing one of our crew members. But shout out to him still because he let us still use the studio.
Mm-hmm. Look, he has a choice.
Look, he has a choice.
But I still want to show my appreciation, jerk. God.
I mean, he could be here. He just wants to be. He's just a little baby right now.
Stop
Ew.
it. He's not.
Look. I knew it.
I really could be here if I wanted.
See,
He's doing his Cookie Monster.
he made it sound so much worse than it was.
Kuya's been on a roll, okay? He's
roasting all of us, okay?
Literally.
He's like, are you mad?
No, I'm not mad.
Are you mad? What do we do?
We'll stay
It's
mad.
okay. This is a safe space.
Okay, you know what?
Safe
You know what you
space.
could do to not make me mad.
Oh, no. He's being
If
serious.
you're listening to this podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcast, rate us. Give us 5 stars. 5 stars only.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then,
that.
share it with friends because you never know when we actually have something intelligent to say.
Yes. Not only that, but it's free. So just do us a favor.
You're so good at those segues, Kuya.
I mean,
You're just like, let me just slide that in there.
Slide that in.
I'm not good at the
sliding in the
DMs.
DMs, though.
I suck at the DMs.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, well, let's go down the line for people who are just listening to us to the first time. And then let's exclude our special guest, though, because I want to give him a special
Proper
introduction.
welcome and introduction, of course.
Okay, go ahead and you start.
Oh, my name is Rich.
My name is Lonnie,
And I'm Ari.
and we are Be Uplifted.
Yep.
So, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, if you're new here, welcome.
My name is Vince.
That's definitely not how he sounds, but
I hate women.
that part. No, just kidding.
Okay, well, if you're watching on YouTube, we have a very special guest. And if you're listening, we do have a special guest today. He holds a very special place to my heart. He is my godbrother. I've known him pretty much all my life. He is well, he'll elaborate a little bit more because I don't want to ruin
You don't
this
know.
shit. No, I do know.
She
Ew.
doesn't know.
No, I just know EOP, but he can go.
What's EOP stand for?
Damn,
Education.
Kuya, you're fucked.
I'm just kidding.
Ew.
Okay,
See, he's fucking roasting.
Yeah.
Oh my
He's on a
God.
sick one today. He's feeling
Anyways.
bold. He's feeling bold. Can you just stop talking so we can give our guest a proper
Damn.
spotlight
You're making
here?
me look bad. I can't have any fucking guests anymore.
I know, right?
God. Okay. But yeah, so if we can go ahead and give a warm welcome to Nico Villa.
Yay!
Yay.
Round of applause.
Hey, how's it going, y'all? How y'all doing?
Dang. See, okay, this is not fair. They have the sexy family voice. Like, what the hell? Like, you got the smooth voice. She's got the smooth voice. Kuya, we have to fucking up our game.
Yo, what's up, everybody?
Damn. Okay. I don't know how to do any of that. So you get what you get.
Right.
Hey, Ma.
Ew.
When guys said on me, hey, what's up, ma? Ugh.
I did not know where that was going.
I know. I was like, what do you mean, hey, ma? I'm confused. But okay. Continue.
Anyways. Okay, so we have our special guest, Nico. Let's go ahead and just tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do? Where you from? And everything you want to let us know about you.
Definitely. Just want to say thank you for the invitation for being here. So I really do appreciate that.
Of
Again,
course.
my name is Nico Villa, born and raised in Southeast and also South Bay, San Diego.
You got to just bring up the mic. Sorry.
Right about here.
Oh, uh-oh.
I could just talk.
Technical difficulties.
I got you.
You good?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, this is how you know I'll be holding shit.
Didn't even fucking think twice. She's like, I got you. Don't trip. I got you.
And this is why we need Queer Rich.
I know, right? Literally wouldn't survive without him.
Can you edit this part? Okay.
I guess we're just.
Please hold.
All right.
Okay.
Mic check.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. Rewind. A little. Okay.
There we go. We got there.
All right.
Again, just want to say thank you for the opportunity to be here with y'all. I really do appreciate it and love y'all podcast from the bottom of my heart. Again, my name is Nico Villa, born and raised in Southeast and also South Bay, San Diego as well, specifically San Isidro and off of Skyline Drive. I'm currently a counselor for the Educational Opportunity Program and Outreach Success at San Diego State University. I've been working at San Diego State for about 5 years already before I became a counselor, I was actually an admissions counselor, where a lot of my work was really focused in Southeast San Diego, where I was working with Morse High School, Lincoln High School, Mount Miguel, Monte Vista,
Morse High? Morse High? No.
San Diego High School. Is just, all the schools in the neighborhood was really my focus.
Awesome. Okay. And what made you get into the field of being in this education and importance of all that?
So ironically, my family comes a long line. So I'm from the Villa clan. And ironically, my family has a long history of educators. My grandmother was a teacher. My great grandmother was also a teacher. My great grandfather was a principal.
Oh, wow.
And my father, Dario Villa, is a counselor as well. He was a counselor at Montgomery High School for about 30 years. And
Dang.
when I got to college at San Diego State, being somewhat like first gen on my maternal side, so I kind of had that identity as a first generation college student, but also had the luxury of knowing what college is like because of my father. And when I got to San Diego State, very, very big culture shock. When I got into that dorm, ironically, I was probably one of the few students of color. And ironically, because where we came from, especially from Southeast, like we come from such a diverse neighborhood.
Hello.
And it's not just a black thing. It's not a Filipino thing. It's everything. Like you from Southeast, you're going to rep it no matter what. And when I got there, like it's just a whole lot of white folk, a whole lot of people from like up north, LA, whatever it may be. And like I gravitated, of course, I was like, man, where are my brown people at? Where my black people at?
Well, my brother's at.
So I was very fortunate to meet my friend Sean Vassell. Shout out to Sean Vassell if you're watching this. But yeah, like being an EOP as a student was probably one of the best blessings that I can ask for. Before I started at San Diego State, I was part of a program called Summer Bridge, and where I had the opportunity to be on campus for about 5 weeks before I even started, where I got to take 2 classes at no cost to me.
Oh, wow.
And I got to pretty much live like that college life. So that was a really big adjustment, taking 2 classes. It was probably 5 weeks really, really quick. And, I was able to get some grades. But that kind of had to start for me. After that Summer Bridge program, I approached Dr. Reggie Baylock, who was the director at the time. And I told him, I was like, yo, Dr. Reggie, like, why isn't there a lot of students from Southeast in this program? I'm one of 3 students from Morse High School who's actually here, who actually got in. Why is that the issue?
Damn.
And Dr. Reggie Baylock was like, you know what? Would you like a job? I was like, shoot, sure. And so I became a student assistant to the outreach position. So just to give it like a full circle moment, the outreach position that I had, I was the student assistant to that job. So I actually got that full-time job later down the road. And I'll talk a little about that as we go. But
So why isn't there? Like, so you asked the question and he gave you a job, but then why isn't there? Because I would consider Southeast San Diego more like underserved communities, right?
Yep.
So why is it that underserved communities are missing in that program?
So like now being on this side of like the academia and knowing like how things work when it comes to the application process, like right now the equation for admissions at San Diego State, they're looking beyond just your test scores and grades. They're looking at the demographic of neighborhood that you're coming from, the school programs that you're part of, like AVID or Upward Bound or WHOOPA. Those college prep programs are really a part of it. But back then, that wasn't part of the conversation. The beauty of having EOP, it's that separate application that's within the CSU application that allows a student to tell their story.
Okay.
Within EOP and the biographical questions that we have 5 questions that allows our students to tell their story. Like, how's your economic background? How's your familial background? What's your goals and aspirations? What's your dream? What are you trying to do? What's your curricular activities? All those extra things that are allowing a student to tell their story. And so, again, when I got into that program and looking what was going on, like when I was in high school, I didn't really see an active person from EOP, being in the schools. And that's how they used to do it back in the day. But they don't really have that at that time. And so it really became imperative, like visibility is important. So from what they were telling me, it's just like, the generations are changing. You see a lot of students are getting students who happen to be first gen. Some of the parents actually have a college degree. And so there's like a way that you enter the application process. Like there's a question that they ask, like, what's your parents' level of education? And sometimes like we may have some family members like, oh, they went to college for like a couple days, or they went to like community college for like a summer to learn English. If you think about it, like,
Right.
Yeah.
and then like as a student at that young age, like if you don't know how to do application, sometimes if that's what your situation, you're gonna put, oh, my parent did some type of college, and that already excludes you from being in that program.
So they're not properly educated.
From my experience at the time,
At the
there's
time,
a whole
yeah.
process.
Now, I know that, college applications and backgrounds and demographics, it's a very polarizing topic,
Yeah.
right? Is EOP just a rewording of affirmative action, of how really affirmative action should have worked, that they fought against in 1993, like not 1995, sorry. And when that bill came, people thought it was a black and white issue, but realistically, it was like, if somebody was going to school in Beverly Hills, let's say, they have so much more funding that they're getting all the college prep computer classes,
Right.
that they get like that bump up when applying to UCLA, where that person that's in South LA, East LA, or some of those underserved communities, they're basically coming in like, oh, I'm a straight A student,
And that's it.
but that's it. I don't have the computer class, the college prep class, and whatnot. Is it pretty much the same thing, just reworded so that it's not so polarizing and it's not like pushing boundaries where it's like now you're gonna try to split the community either left or right
Yeah.
to back it.
Definitely. Like EOP's been having these services for about 55 plus years. So this is all going based off the civil rights movement and a lot of the work that our civil rights individuals, our pioneers that have done this work to make sure that they're given an opportunity. Because back then, again, looking at it, like students of color weren't given those opportunities. Redlining was in playing, and students who are coming from these different neighborhoods didn't get that same opportunity. So in a way, yes, to answer your question, it's reaffirming it. But the unfortunate part, because of how society is, and if we're looking at social constructivism, you start to understand like, okay, this is why things are the way they are. Like why did society built up in a way that has allowed people of color to be so stacked into one little area? Like
Right.
there's like a scene, if y'all remember, like Boys in the Hood, like that one scene where they're bringing Ricky and the son of the dad, and he's just talking to them and talking about gentrification and talking about, there's a liquor store in every corner. Like that's probably the realest conversation that like you could look at, especially where we're coming from. You literally see that there's a liquor store at every corner in Southeast, but.
And if you can name them too, that's how you know you're from Southeast too.
You got
Let's just
Kings,
say,
you got Green Cat Liquor all day.
literally, yeah.
But yeah.
So let's rewind a little bit. Like, what made you pick state?
Yeah, so at first I was an athlete at Morse High School as a 3-sport athlete, and my goal was to actually play football. And I was very fortunate to get a couple looks. I actually had a D1 offer at Wagner College in New York. But it's snowing out there, Cali boy. I don't know if I can deal with that snow.
Right.
But it's beyond that. Like I definitely, it's probably the first time where my mother and my biological father actually agreed on something about, the longevity of my career and my life. This football might potentially affect me mentally later down the road.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, definitely.
at the time, I'm very pissed about it because it's like I built this future. I trained hard. Like this was supposed to be for me. And when I was told like you're not gonna be able to play football, it was very, very like hard to digest.
Especially when you're in high school.
Definitely, especially
Yeah.
like where all my boys like the goal was to get
Literally.
a D1,
Yeah.
scholarship or some type of scholarship that had to do with sports, and I was very fortunate, under my dad's like guidance and everything. I made a lot of money based off of scholarships, not athletically, but through essays. Lonnie can probably remember the story, but yeah, like I won a total like $50K in regards to scholarship money.
Nice.
So like my whole tuition was paid for, my dorming was paid for, and San Diego State was also giving me a good financial aid package as well. So I was like, you know what, my goal was to make sure that my mother didn't have any debt. Like she got debt because of my sister's school. I was like, you know what? I don't want this to happen for my mother. I don't want her to struggle for me to go to college, because there's that type of guilt. There's that type of guilt that a lot of students who are coming from a first generation background.
Yeah.
There's that familial guilt of them leaving first and foremost, but then having to pay for school. It's a whole nother thing that creates
Definitely.
a amount of weight. So San Diego State was it. It was a local school for me. Wasn't too far. It was just far enough for me to grow as an individual, and that's why I dormed.
Is it also because there was a party school? I mean, that had to play a part, man. Come on.
No, it did. Like one of my god brothers, he actually took me to a party like my senior year, and I kind of like faked it out. Like, yeah, like I'm a college recruit for San Diego State. Like I'm here,
right?
And I got to experience.
Got a little taste.
Yeah.
So what's up, ma? I got what I'm saying.
I'll be honest, because if I was a recruiter and I was taking you on a tour through Wagner College or university, whatever that is, and it's freezing cold and everybody's bundled up in turtlenecks and scarves and Uggs, and then you go to San Diego State and everybody's in booty shorts, tank tops.
You're like, this is the one.
You cannot win.
Yeah, that's
You
so
cannot
true.
win. You're like, oh, I'm looking at, oh man, look at that snow. Wow.
I mean, he found the love of his life at San Diego State, so.
I'm pretty sure that was easy. When he got there, he found his love of his life every weekend.
Cali girls are top notch. So,
I mean,
I'm just kidding.
That required some work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears from my.
Don't they all though? Don't all relationships?
It's worth it though.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
Oh, that's a topic for another episode.
Where's Vince rolling his eyes like it's not fucking worth it? Okay. Okay, so we'll backtrack a little bit again. We'll get back on track. Yeah. So you said that when you had entered the program, you had noticed that there was a lack in this type of demographic, right? But you also said that what opportunities that this holds is like you guys ask more questions nowadays, right? Was that something that was developed once you got on board, or was it something that was already there but you kind of pushed it more to make it happen?
It was already involved, like the way that they had their process of going. So when you apply to EOP, it's a separate application within the CSU application. And sometimes some students miss it because it's in the supporting information. Okay. If a student were to press yes, I'll return later, they kind of make the assumption, oh yeah, I applied. But if you press yes, it opens up to a whole new application. And so back then, when my father was a EOP project as well, he was an outreach person at the time, and they used to have counselors, like student counselors, go to the specific schools and help the students with like financial aid and with the EOP application. Back in the day, we used to read the essays frequently. We would get like letters in, but again, think about that. That's almost 3,500 letters.
It's gonna be gibberish after the first.
That's a lot. And so they, San Diego State, they created a way that's allowed us to see things from a standpoint like, okay, we can definitely see that the student's coming from a potential low-income family, and then based off their GPA, like what kind of grades they're getting, if they meet that impaction, it's very important. But San Diego State's getting very impacted as we speak. But
yeah, that's true.
When I got added to the team as a student assistant, it was really just a lot of phone calls, phone calls, talking to students, see how I can help, a lot of different presentations. And it just became a part for me to start creating my story as a student professional and how to create that moving forward. So that's.
When was the turning point for you in your career as an EOP where you were like, man, this is something that is like really meaningful to my life?
So it was after I actually changed my major. So just to backtrack it from like undergrad and now where I am as a professional, I changed my major, as every Filipino, we're given a prescribed
nursing. You were nursing?
Shoot, I was kinesiology, but I was going down that doctor.
Oh, yep, that's like a close thing, right?
Something close. But when I changed my major based off of choice, I really fell in love with the counseling class called CSP 460. Shout out to Dr. Tana Stark. And she really helped me understand counseling from a different lens, like looking at counseling from a cultural lens and seeing how it's affected by every culture and ethnicity. And when I was able to intertwine what I was learning and what I was doing with my outreach work, everything started to feel like a harmony. Like, okay, I think I definitely see myself in a career. And that's when I changed my major. One thing I love about San Diego State, we have this thing called interdisciplinary studies where you can choose 3 minors and turn it into one. So for me, I did child family development, which helped me learn about adolescence, like why a child cries when they're away from their mother. I learned I majored in recreation tourism management. It's about leisure. I never saw it as recreation. I always saw it as recreation because you get to recreate your future and what you want to do and how you can intertwine that. And then the last one was counseling for social change. And so it allowed me to put those all 3 together and make a future for myself. But moving forward, I started doing a lot more presentations for Morse High School in Lincoln about the SWAG program. So students with academic goals. I don't know if y'all remember that. It was like a SAT prep. And I got to intertwine like the importance of getting test prep, but intertwining like where I came from, helping the students understand that because of where we come from, it shouldn't be a detriment. It should be a blessing, because that's a story that needs to be told.
Right.
And so we've allowed students to see that. And then moving forward, I was very fortunate to work for a program called Compact for Success, which was within the EOP department, where I did a lot of my undergraduate work, and it got me to a position to be a graduate student for the program. And moving forward, fast forward on that, I was offered a job at EOP to be the outreach specialist under Sharika White. And I literally got to work with schools, like I stated before, like Morrison, Lincoln, and that's where it got to me. Like I started to talk more about like how college could be a possibility. One of my things I like to say is like college is a key that will open doors that may be non-existent. And it's just like, this is something that's been driven in my mind by my father, and so I kind of have that as a consistent thought in my head when I'm talking to students. Like, I'm telling you a story at the end of the day. I'm not here just to tell you about college and let that go out the ear, because you can definitely see it. Like, if you think about it, like all the college presentations that y'all potentially had, like, was there someone from your neighborhood who looks like you to come into your school and to talk about the benefits? It's always unfortunate. It happened to be a white person.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
especially where I came from. I mean,
Poway.
I was in Poway, so
Yeah.
that was weird too, because it was like I didn't feel represented in that area like at all. It was just like, okay, you feel out of place, you know. And then you realize like, oh, other schools don't even have what I have. Like, I was talking to my cousin that's from Southeast, and he would be like, oh yeah, you guys have a mountain climbing wall, and you guys have a $1 million wrestling program. And I was just like, that's not what everyone has, you know. Like, and I was like, damn, that's messed up. Like, I felt weird, you know, like.
So that leads me to my next question. Look at that.
You see,
Like, so whenever anything is based on socioeconomic factors, right? Unfortunately, the rich get richer and the poor gets poorer.
Right.
And there's a difference, and I think it's important, like, for you to be able to tell individuals like what it is. It's like what makes it so different to have the funding in Poway, and then head on down towards Mira Mesa and Claremont be totally different, right? And for me, is it the parents and who they're voting for in that sector, or is it simply just the way it is? You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, we can have all these graphs and everything, but if the decline of the middle class keeps going,
right,
and then so our underserved community just becomes super undeserved to the point where even with whatever scores they have, they're not going to get into any college.
Yeah.
What can communities do? Parents do? Because there's only so much that you could do talking to a kid.
Yeah.
But if they're not provided with the tools and they're not provided with the facilities to make it happen, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a great question. You brought it up, like voting for your city, your officials and who represents your community is very important. So that's what we really focus on, like, you know, get your vote in, do what you got to do your due diligence, and making sure that you do your research as well based off the people who's representing you. But it's also hard too, like looking at our generation of students is like, is that really what they're looking at? Like, is that really the research that we're looking at? And to be honest, quite honest, sometimes it might not be the stuff I want to look at all the time. Because it's a lot. Sometimes it's a lot of things that you just don't understand.
Right.
And sometimes you just got to focus on what you got to do.
Literally, like, I mean, sorry to cut you off, but, you know, like, especially with us, like, growing up and stuff, we didn't think about, like, oh, voting's going to make a difference. We had to make sure, like, we're going to make it through the
You're trying
next
to survive
week,
at
you
the
know
end
what
of the
I'm saying?
day. Yeah.
Like, make sure that the lights are still fucking turned on while you're still in high school and stuff like that and whatever, you know?
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think it's great, though, because of the fact that someone like you who came from the neighborhood and has a background of understanding what it's like to come from Southeast or like come from, you know, that type of environment and just connect with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, and hopefully that gives them some type of connection that they're like, yo, if he could do it, I could do it too.
Right. Exactly. Definitely.
Because if you look at politician on a TV, it's like, okay, great.
At that age too, that's like the last thing that you're thinking about. So,
But it's not. But I'm not asking that question wasn't for the students.
Yeah, it was for what can the
parents and the community do. They should be
educating.
They should be educated
Right.
in regards to that, as opposed to just saying, bygones be bygones. Hopefully you make it to college.
Yeah.
Definitely. So I think it's an importance of time. I think some of the examples I will give just like for textbook, like when I took a sociology class at State, they asked, okay, why is the obesity rate so high in America? And you got a lot of students like talking about, oh, people don't work out, people don't got time. Now for me, this is where you incorporate your story into the curriculum. I told the teacher, I think it's important that we think about the most like impoverished schools in San Diego or in most impoverished neighborhoods. Thinking about just again, just throwing back to like Southeast and everything. Where's the closest Trader Joe's?
That was the first thing I pointed out when I moved down here or down there. Yeah.
We got like 5 food for less.
On every corner. Yeah, exactly.
You know, sometimes
you got to.
You're not trying to shame food for less, but a lot of those is hand-me-downs. You know what I'm saying? Like overstock somewhere else becomes your stock, your brand new stock.
I know y'all see that chicken. You still see a feather from
that's
here.
prepackaged. That's repackaged from Vons and Poway. That was your chicken. The chicken that you didn't want.
But yeah, to put all together, like that's the thing. Like parents, like the students in our neighborhood. We good here. Is it good now? I'll just.
I gotta fix that. Just keep.
You good. I can wait.
I just keep talking.
he doesn't want to keep editing.
I can speak up though.
It's just because I don't have it at the.
Do you need to move this?
Sorry, I was kind of busy.
Sorry, Koya, because you know you do everything around here.
Okay, that should be good. Hopefully.
Yeah, so I got you right here. So, but yeah, just bringing it back to what I was talking about, like parents don't have time. Usually when the story I tell is like students, like some of y'all had to grow up on that bag of cereal, non-branded cereal in that bag. Some of you only seen your parents maybe twice in the day, once in the morning and once at night.
Yep.
Or other thing is like you lived off a cup of noodles. Like there's a story beyond it. Like the beauty of a cup of noodles. Like that's what you had to have. But is that the most nutritious? And it's not. No. But to bring it back, it's like that's why we have those college prep programs. You have the 6 to 6 program. There's the AVID after school programs for these students to be exposed to these different things. So like depending on the parent who they are and how proactive they're going to be, it's really based off like the knowledge that they've been given. Stuff is taught down. Like if you got a parent who didn't go to college, how are they going to know?
Exactly.
That's true.
So it's like that's why we have these programs. So if I have any advice for a parent, especially in these inner city schools,
Put your kid in a program.
Put your kid in a program. Definitely put your kid in a program. But also, a lot of these households, what I'm liking right now, especially in our neighborhood, they're allowing kids to take community college classes at a younger age now. Like the earliest I've seen is where a student in their sophomore year has taken a community college class. It gives them an opportunity to test their knowledge versus a damn SAT test. Like that stuff never worked, and it's unfortunate that we had that test. And I'm glad that they took it away. But like that's my advice. Like think about it. If the parent is not there 24/7, they're only there twice a day. Where do you think the conversation of college is at? What time frame of the day when they're talking to the kid about that?
On TikTok.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean that's where your education comes from.
But yeah, like have your kids like take a community college class as early as possible. It's gonna help. It's gonna save you money, if anything, when you get to when you get to the college, because you're using that time. And if this high school provides it, you don't got to pay no money for it.
No, one of the parents that I know, her kid got pulled out of the school my daughter goes in, and she is 15 and she's about to graduate high school and start college because she started taking community colleges. So she, and I guess correct me if I'm wrong, but she said that the credits count for both high school and college, right?
Yes.
So she's graduating at 15 and she's about to start college now. And I'm like, that's
amazing.
crazy. I know. And she's from an underprivileged, place. It's just that she's like, oh, I can't afford to pay for this private school. So she pulled her daughter out, and it turned out to be even better for her because she put the work in and the research in and the education into it, So it's very true.
Yeah. It's almost like, you familiar with Alex Smith from Helix?
Yeah.
Like he graduated like his junior year of high school. He had so much credits that by the time he just basically stayed in in high school to play football, then went to college and only spent 2 years there because he was already graduated because he had so many credits.
That's crazy.
That's something that you have to be able to offer or be aware of, so you could tell your kids, like, look, you could take all these programs and they count for college and high school, and you'd be done so much faster.
Yeah.
So what kind of things do you tell these kids in these underprivileged neighborhoods that are more jaded, right? They're like, I'm not going to go to college. Like, I can't do that. I got to help my mama out. I got to start working right away, you know? Or I got to take care of my siblings because my mom works, 12-hour shifts. So college is not at the top of my list right now. Like, what kind of motivational or educational, like, little tidbits do you give these kids that have those kind of jaded mentalities?
Yeah, I think when it comes to visibility, it's important. I think, when I'm talking to students from like Marshall, Lincoln, I do my whole spiel. Like I talk about, I'm born and raised in Southeast San Diego, born on specifically on Skyline Drive. Regardless of where I am today in my profession, besides those 2 letters next to my name, I don't even look at that point. I try to let them understand that I'm still that same kid who went to MLK Park, who went all the way to this 2-story McDonald's off of Paradise Hills to get a sweet tea with 2 creamers.
Hella.
I'm like, everybody knows that.
Like,
McDonald's.
I told them I'm still the same kid.
McGangbang.
Go to La Barrel.
There's a liquor store at that corner too, by the way.
And I only know this because my cousins grew up in Southeast, and I was always with them because I felt out of place in Poway. So I was like, I didn't feel like a Poway kid. I felt like a Southeast kid all the time.
But I give them concrete examples. Like I let them know that, like I was the type of person where if you were to ask me that if I was okay, I'm gonna tell you I'm okay even though I'm not. And I would ask how many of you by a show of hands feel that way.
Every one of them raised their hand, huh? Mm-hmm.
I also told them that I'm also the type of student who I was like, I don't want to ask for help because I've been doing this on my own for the longest time and I'm just used to that. And so like for me, I try to give them those examples of like letting them know like there's people at these different universities who are from your community and they're waiting for you. Like I try to help them understand that the grind is your responsibility at the end of the day. Everyone wants to be self-efficient, but no one wants to be self-accountable. Right. And when I say that, they're like, ooh.
They're like, that's deep.
That's good. And it's like trying to help them understand we're not products of our environment. We're products of expectations. And these expectations aren't just coming from ourselves. Like they're coming from our family, our people, our community. And unfortunately, we internalize them and we make them our own. And that's why we have so much weight. And like help to understand, like, you don't have to carry that by yourself. Like you are not alone in this process. And I think when I'm telling the students, like, yes, you're going to have familial responsibilities, but you're going to have to be somewhat in a way, not say educated, but in the right way to have those different type of conversations where they can advocate for themselves at the end of the day. I think that's the biggest thing. It's not a simple answer. It's still a hard thing, especially after COVID and everything. Like the generation's changing. It's changing frequently. And it's like these conversations are becoming a little bit more frequent in regards to the wellness of our students. And so for me, it's just being fully authentic and being real.
I think that's the most important, right? With these kids that are impressionable at that age, you really want somebody to keep it real with you, but you have these adults that try to like sugarcoat and push an agenda. So having that kind of representation, I think, is really important.
Right. Yeah. And then even to go back on like the whole, what you said about like, what do you tell your parents? Like growing up, like my parents just told me, go to college. Well, how the fuck do I get to college?
Right, exactly.
What are the steps I should be taking?
Be a nurse.
Yeah, literally. Like you're telling me what to do, but you're not telling me how to get there.
Right.
You know?
Definitely.
So yeah, and I lost my train of thought. Mommy brain still. But yeah, so Nico, I mean, I know like on some of your posts and stuff, you do hashtag Southeast Made. Like, so is this where it came from? Like, I want to, come a little light about it and not try to put all the pressure about the education and all that stuff. But
definitely. Going back to also the question you asked to tie it together. One of the other stories I tell the students is like, you all have to understand, because you're from Southeast, we're a different breed. Like we're just a different breed.
Yeah,
and it's true. Like we're diamonds in the rough. And I always tell them, like, I always looked at it from a detriment and not a blessing, because and when I was comparing myself to a lot of the students at San Diego State, they're all intelligent, but they lack the hustle.
That's so true. Yeah.
Like you can have all the tools, and you think about, like we talked about earlier about what type of tools you're going to have. Like sometimes that's the thing. You may have all the tools, but you're lazy. But because of where we come from, we have to hustle. And you can't teach that. That's the book hustle. That's street knowledge. When you're able to incorporate your street knowledge with the academia, you realize, like, for me, in a weird way, if you think about it, you know, coming from the hood, you know, they push product, right?
Yeah.
In a way, my product is education.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm trying to push that. I'm trying to help people understand beyond the corners that are on Southeast, like looking at it from beyond, like, four corners of death, but I can call it the four corners of life. Like, there's ways that we can absorb what we have and allow that to be the strength of our people and what that can do for them.
And just to, like, reaffirm and echo that point too, I had that, right? Like, the tools. I grew up in Poway. I had the best unified school district, but we happened to be put there because my dad was in the military. You know, we weren't a wealthy family. We just happened to have the opportunity to live there. But even with all those tools, because I didn't have the education as you're speaking of, I didn't have the same opportunities as my classmates. You know, I didn't have the education, the know-how that these other people had. So that's a really good point, that, you know, you might have everything, but that doesn't mean anything if you don't have the hustle that goes along with it, you know?
Now with the hustle, do you think the hustle in itself is dwindling with this generation? Because there's a lot
question.
that I think about, right? It's like, as a country as a whole, the United States of America, we lack our innovation has kind of like started to dwindle, right? And then so it's being taken over by other countries. So as far as what we'll look at as a nation in 2035, we might not necessarily be the superpower that we think we are.
Right.
So when that happens, your passports don't mean shit. Your blue passport now can get you into a lot of countries without a visa. If you're not a superpower, whatever. But anyway, get away from that. I'm saying, like, right now though, I think when I look at kids, they don't hustle the way we do because they waste so much time on other things, other things that they think are activism, or they think that it's part of but it's just a waste of fucking resources.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Give an example.
like being fucking woke.
Yeah.
Like if you concentrate so much on why you're not getting into college because everybody at that fucking college is racist, you're wasting your time.
Yeah, instead of actually figuring out the solution.
Yeah, and you know, and I think sometimes we get so sucked up, or these kids get so sucked up in what the algorithm tells them, that their hustle is just like void, because they're hustling somewhere else.
Or I've also noticed in this younger generation, and tell me if you've noticed the same thing, is it's almost like an entitledness. Like, if they're not doing the hustle where they have to work, then it's almost the opposite. Like, they're expecting it to be handed to them, you know, like
They try to find a blame.
right. Something to blame it on, or my mom was toxic, so that's why I don't have the mental capacity. And don't get me wrong, I am all about mental health. Like, they know I talk about that on the podcast all day, every day. I'm a big advocate for mental health, but I have noticed that. And have you noticed that there's this sense of, like, poor me or entitlement in this younger generation?
Definitely. I think the unique thing about our students, because we try to shift that narrative, though, just to combat that just a little bit.
That's good.
You're right. It is a mental health component, and we try to get them to understand it's not just a simple, like, I have to commute from here to here. I have to work maybe 3 to 4 hours a day. But this is your first time doing it. Like, if you're working full time and going to school full time, how are you going to adjust to that? But then you have to support your mom because she doesn't work. But you're right. Like, it's looking at the students right now, there's some type of entitlement. But for me, like, I was always taught that I'm going to continue to spoon feed our students until they can feed themselves. Because if you give them that guidance and nurture them in the best way, then they're soon enough they're going to learn how to eat, and then they're going to help other people and help them eat as well.
I love that.
So, like, this that nurture and nature type of thing.
Yeah, I really like that analogy.
You gotta cultivate.
I'm gonna support you.
Yeah.
You know,
Until you make cotton yourself.
Yeah.
Do the airplane.
Open wide.
No joke though. That's a really good analogy. I love that. I love that a lot. That's awesome.
But yeah, to go back to, like, the whole, like, hustle thing, it's all experience at the end of the day. Like, this is why it's important when I'm telling my students, like, you have to understand the shoulder, like, you stand on the shoulders of people that you don't know. And there's some culture component to it. It's like, for me, like, if I'm speaking, like, in the Filipino, like, way. Like there's a saying, I can't say it so bad right now, but it's like hindi marunong paruunan makarating, something like that. But it basically states that if you don't know,
Say that again.
I ain't,
Stop.
I ain't gonna do it again. It's bad. But basically, it's like if you don't know, if you don't appreciate where you come from, you'll never get to your full destination or fully understand where you are. It's something my dad has told me all the time. It's like I try to get students to understand, like, you really don't know, like, the people who've helped you along the way.
Yeah.
And I try to get to understand it's your grandparents' parents and your grandparents' parents after that.
Right.
And it's like you get to live your ancestors' dreams.
Exactly.
And I think when you put that in perspective, it makes it so much more purposeful for the students to understand, like, you're not just here just because San Diego State was the last option for you. Like, you're here to make a difference. And that's why I try to get students to understand, like, regardless of what degree you have, it's like your purpose is supposed to be, it's not linear, it's supposed to be dynamic. And when it meets a human need, that's when you finally realize, like, okay, this is what you're doing. So that's kind of like, for me, when it talks about the hustle part, it's like looking at their why at the end of the day. And it's hard too, though. Talking to a student in their high school year, it's wrong for me to ask them, what are you passionate about? They might not even know that.
Yeah, that's true.
And even if they get into their freshman year in college, they might not even know that either.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Shit, I don't even know still to this
Right?
day.
I'm like, shit, me
You know,
too.
like-
You tell me.
It's funny to say, understanding your why, because in the military, even if you look at the military, like you look at special forces like the Navy SEALs, most people that actually succeed through that pipeline either already knew their why or understood it as they're going through it. And until you know where that why is, it's hard to know where you're going, because you don't know why.
Yeah. It
You don't know
almost
why
makes
you're
it
getting here.
less motivating.
Right.
Too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just I think that at some point, again, as I always said, read a fucking book. Get off your computer, read a book. And you'll sometimes you'll find your why there. And then, as you mentioned about, your grandparents, parents, whatever, some of these kids don't realize how hard it was for their parents to get here and learn a fucking language.
Yeah.
And then find a place to live. Those stories when you have like, oh, my dad came here with $10 in his pocket. That shit is true for a lot of us.
Yeah.
That shit is true for a lot of us. Imagine coming here with no experience, barely speak the language.
yeah.
Now you got to find a place to stay
Yeah.
in one of the most expensive cities in America.
Exactly.
And then find a job too.
That's what I
with
mean about
really
some
no
of them don't
skill?
understand. Yeah, it's true.
Like, what skill in the Philippines do you think your parents had? I mean, your grandparents had when they came here.
Right.
It's that grit. It's just that dream.
But you should understand their hustle.
Right.
Yeah.
And parlay their hustle into your hustle.
Exactly.
Because they hustled their way to get you to this point.
And I think that's why it's helpful that we have someone like you in the position to be able to help them understand that, because I feel like our generation didn't really have that representation, which is why all of us went different ways. Some of us did do the college thing and some of us did not, because it was kind of just doing whatever we felt because we didn't have guidance like what you're doing right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about, I guess, what is it called when you see somebody that's representation?
Oh.
Right? Because I went to art school. I went to an art college.
Yeah.
My mom didn't know that shit. Like, that was the biggest argument. Why the fuck are you going to art school? Because it wasn't represented. Like, how many Filipino kids go up and say, Mom, I don't want to be an engineer. I don't want to do business. I'm going to be an artist. What do you mean artist? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, also a lot of times it's that you run into those brick walls because, as you said, you have to find your why,
Right.
And as soon as it meets a purpose, that's your purpose,
Yeah.
right? As soon as it meets a need by society, that's your. But a lot of times, our parents don't understand that either.
Yeah, exactly.
So that
Because they're
was
still in their survival mode, if you think about
Yeah.
it. They're still thinking like, you got to be a doctor because that's what makes money. You got to do this because that's what makes money. You need to get us out of the hood. Like that's the mentality that's constantly put.
And I've had that conversation too with like my family also, because I still get that question too, like, oh, Lonnie, I know you have a baby now, but you need to go back to school. You need to go whatever, right? And I'm like, I'm gonna be real with you right now. I'm not gonna go to school because I want to make sure when I go to school, I know what I want to go to school for.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
when I graduated from high school, I only went to college because that's what I was told to do. and then I had to end that chapter quick because I had to go survival mode and take care of me and my family. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, just to circle back to Nico, you know, like, what would you tell somebody, I mean, besides talking to, like, high schoolers, would you feel like anybody at a certain age can go back to getting that education, and what would you tell them?
It's never too late.
Yeah.
That's why we're called lifelong learners. Like you said it perfectly, read a book.
Yeah.
That's it. It's free.
Yeah.
Right.
Like there's so much knowledge out there. Like, man, all of y'all, we're just a bunch of brown people in America's most expensive game, like expensive world, and we just try and put people on. That's
Right.
it. And I think, you know, to answer your question, like, yeah, it's never too late.
Yeah.
You can literally get a associate's degree for anything you want.
Yep.
Like I think there's a statistic out there, I think by 2020 something, that there's going to be probably like 100,000 more jobs out there that's going to require additional training.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to go to college to make the life that you want to live.
Yeah.
But learning never ends, though.
Yeah.
It does. It does. People don't want to be plumbers anymore.
Right.
Now I got my dad's neighbor is a plumber. Nice house, nice car, everything. And he tells because no one wants to do it.
Yep.
Yep.
Like there's a lot of students, a lot of people out there who don't even have a master's are making way more than me. And they're happy at the end of the day. So I think it's just redefining, you know, again, what hustle means to them, redefining what loyalty also means to them, and also just, you know, betting on themselves at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It takes time. It's a process, right? At the end of the day, like you never see a farmer like rush their harvest, right?
Exactly.
Grow,
Like,
grow.
Yeah, they don't get to enjoy the fruit of their labor right away.
Bro, it's not now. Fuck this thing. And they like leave their crop.
Fuck farming.
Yeah.
You're like, fuck farming. It's the winter, bro.
Where are my green beans? I'm trying.
Right. But it's true though. That's how a lot of people proceed with things, right? I mean, even this, right? Even the podcast. People are like, like we talked about this on last one. You still doing the podcast thing?
Yeah.
Maybe it might take 5 years to be at the capacity that we dream of, but we're still going to keep going. You know,
Hello, yeah.
just the way that it is.
It's funny because me and my family had a sit down conversation, like me and my cousins. Well, I call them my cousins, but really they're my aunts, uncles, whatever. Anyways, so we were talking about it, and they're like, "Yo, how many people in our family that are like blood related are nurses?" And we counted, we only had like 3 or 4.
You guys
and
are
the
very
rest of us,
entrepreneurial.
yeah, the rest of us were like, we followed our dreams. We like to party, so that's why we became a Sanders and Company. You know, like, but yeah. Anyways,
And that's dope though. Like that's really beautiful for someone to see someone like build their company with their family and do the hustle even without the degree. I mean, it's very important, but you're also representing the people that didn't get that opportunity and still made something for themselves, you know?
yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I definitely would want to go back to school. I want to get like at least to have that backup of understanding how to run the company.
Oh yeah,
more
like a
thorough.
business type
Yeah,
thing.
right.
For sure.
But yeah,
And you
so,
can.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like,
Look at him giving
Nico.
you the eye. He's like,
Okay, Nico.
It's called the Otai Library. Go read a book. You want to learn how to like. There's a lot of leader. I mean, I get what you mean, but
Yeah.
sometimes there's a lot of leadership books, and there's a lot of books that
Oh yeah, for sure.
you watch.
But I
Good Will
mean, to have
Hunting?
that paper to back you up too. You know,
No, you know what that paper does?
it goes on a frame and into the wall.
It just gives you an opportunity to be seen. It doesn't guarantee you any position.
shh,
Speaking
that's
facts.
not what he's saying. Shh.
He's right
just
though.
kidding, I'm
It's
just
right.
I'm
It-
just saying.
Yeah,
it
no,
gets
that's
you.
true.
It gives you an opportunity, and then depending how you take that opportunity,
Yeah.
it really depending on what you do.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
It's like when you said like people say like my family says you should go back to school. My question is for what, and they can never give me an answer.
Yeah.
They can't give me an answer.
That's what happens with me too. That's what they
for
say
what?
to you. For what?
And I just stand there for what? You tell me. You have a plan. Let me know. Because they don't either. They're just spitting out stupid shit.
Hello. Well, it's not stupid, but
But
No,
the
not
opportunity
stupid.
to learn, like for example, like I was on the track to be a child therapist, right? So I took a bunch of sociology classes and psychology classes, and I will never regret taking those classes because that helped me so much in my life. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, whether college is the end all be all or whether it's not, I still think like giving it a try, going, talking to people, getting more information is very critical, and talking to people like him because it really guides you to where you're going to be. And at the end of the day, you're learning something, and that's important,
yeah. Also, like, just to go back with Nico too, I know sports is a really big thing for you, and it's something really hard for you to let go. Or I don't want to say even let go, because now you've got, I don't know, I don't want to butcher it, but like a program or what? Can you explain that whole basketball
so
thing?
I'm a counselor at San Diego State University through the EOP program, and I'm in charge of the Men of Color initiatives. So I've been very blessed with an opportunity to incorporate things that allow to support our students holistically, especially our Men of Color students. Right now in the whole CSU system, our EOP students, our Men of Color in general, have the lowest graduation rate, unfortunately. And so within our EOP department, it's not just EOP. There's a collaborative program called the Young Men of Color Alliance, which is a combination of EOP, counseling, psych services, the Center for Intercultural Relations, the Restorative Practices Office, and we create programming for our students. This year was very fortunate. I was able to co-teach a university seminar to our first-time freshmen who are coming into San Diego State, and majority of them were dorming or commuting. And ironically, all these students were from Southeast as well, majority of them.
That's
and I actually had one of my students, shout out to Marquise, he was one of my students at Lincoln that I helped apply to San Diego State, but San Diego State was the second option. He hit me up on Instagram, was like, yo, like, I'm not going to play football anymore. I need your help. I was very fortunate to get him part of that program, and now he's in my class. Like, you can't teach that, you know, like you can't. And we didn't plan for that. But basically in that class, we had 9 first-time freshmen where we gave presentations about like how to tell my story. We did a storyboard presentation where they got to create a cork board and put a bunch of photos and all that good stuff. And their last assignment was to create this class into a student org. And they did that as of this past year. Some other key work programs that we put together within the Young Men of Color is that we had a barbershop talk.
Oh, that's cool.
It's really focusing on the importance of radical self-care. And we kind of put in perspective, like, for individuals who get a haircut, it's like that's self-care, but it's more just getting a haircut. Like, you're chopping it up with your barber that you haven't seen maybe in 2 weeks. They're not just cutting hair, but they're speaking life to you.
Hello.
And also being in that setting, like, you're speaking with other men of color, just about life. And it's a strong testament to, like, LeBron James's, like, barbershop show that he does on HBO, or even like a Vic Blends, who's a cutter on Instagram. Like, he's giving like random haircuts to people. Like, that's the type of thing that we want to create with our young men of color, to have these conversations. Now going to that basketball thing.
Yeah.
So when I was a freshman at San Diego State, I was struggling. Like, I was approached by Dr. Paul Menifee, who was an RWS teacher, rhetorical writing professor. And he saw me one day. He just took a chance. Hey, man, what's going on? And he just knew it. Like, I was down bad. Like, I was like, hey, man, I'm just not doing well academically. Like, I'm failing a class. Like, I don't know what to do. And he's like, you know what? Come play basketball with me Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 8 o'clock at the SSU ARC. And I did that. So for about a month, I did that, and he told me, like, did you know that you were playing with other staff and faculty? And I was like, what? I was getting balled up by my professor. But to fast forward that, like, throughout my career in my undergraduate and also as a professional, I started taking my students to it. And when I became a counselor and got this role, I was like, you know what? This would be a great program if I can turn it into something. So I turned it into Morning Hoops, the Young Men of Color Morning Hoops. Until this day, I still have some of those same professors who are hooping with me with other students, and just giving students the time to have some self-care and to build relationships, to create that confidence that, man, your professor gonna ball you up, but then after that, he can teach you a lesson.
I
Exactly.
love that.
So it's
I
like,
love that.
I'm helping my students understand, like, there's different ways to connect with your professors, because for a lot of students, it can be hard. It can definitely be hard to create that conversation, but, like, you're connecting on the love of basketball. And I think it's important that
Like leveling the playing field.
Exactly. Like, I would never hate it when they separate sometimes the recreation and the education part of it. You put it together, it becomes the best thing. So, yeah, there's a video that I created, and there's like, I interviewed a bunch of students, and you can definitely see, like, there's a love for it. And I love seeing my students every Wednesday and Friday. Like, there was today. I saw my students today, asked them, how you doing? How's life? And they always check in with me. So, like, tying those things, like, that's my love right there. Like, I love putting those little things together for the students to go beyond just what's happening inside the classroom. Like, success happens outside as well.
So during your barbershop talk, do you guys gossip at all?
Oh my God.
Oh, we had a barbershop talk episode, and the guys are denying that they talk about women.
No, I was saying we talk mostly about who's better, LeBron James or Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Right? We talk about hustling, not necessarily women. What's a percentage you think of topics that deal around women in your barbershop talk?
The eye roll is so hard between me and Lonnie right now.
Very, because we do this on campus, so of course we have to follow our guidelines. So because it's on our campus event, and it has to be, it goes through higher ups to see how we're going to talk about. So to be honest, it's 0% on that.
Exactly. See, 0%.
You
But
shut
on
up.
campus.
Look.
But like
It's
we
tried
doing
and
one
tested.
like in Southeast, like,
I
you know,
deeply believe that every man is in cahoots, and they're all telling each other, "Don't tell the women that we fucking talk about."
All cap.
Right?
All cap.
Cap.
Hey, it's been studied
Okay.
by San Diego State University. It's a study that shows men zero gossip during barbershop talk.
Oh, whatever. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, Nico, I want to ask like one final question.
No, I got
from
one
you.
after
Oh,
that.
go ahead. Ask them.
Okay. Well, you know, if you know me well, I kind of like a lot of things that I look at. It's like about. I read about the world. I pay attention to, you know, our economic status or global positioning and whatnot. Does the application to San Diego State, and I'm just gonna say San Diego State itself because I don't know if you know anything about other state schools, right? When you say I'm local, San Diego from Southeast, does that play a part in it, or is it just being quote unquote a minority that triggers that algorithm? You know, because the reason why I'm asking is because I think that when we have students that are actually our underserved communities go and, you know, complete their hustle and get to school, they're going to come back and serve the community. They serve the United States of America. Now, right now, there's like 500,000 visas being handed out for people in other countries. Mm-hmm. Actually, there's two, right? They just go back and forth within each other.
Yeah.
I won't mention it because people are going to think that I'm anti-whatever. Mm-hmm. But
Which is not the case.
Which is not the case. But the problem is that they're getting into schools. They don't need scholarships. They have the education. They have the money, and then they go back, and they don't really serve they don't really serve us. Do you know what I mean? So is there a distinction there? Whereas somebody that says, "Hey, I am a wealthy blah 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 from whatever country," there's 500,000 of us. We can pay for whatever schooling, so we don't need financial aid. We have the resources. We have the curriculum or whatever. But they get here, and now they've ranked above everybody else in that's from Southeast or from our own communities. Does that play a role in that, or is it just still like a lump, like it is what it is?
I think it's beyond just what it is what it is. Like if we're thinking about, if I'm like filling out an application and they're asking what's my ethnicity, it's like it's not just a black or white thing. It's like I'm putting down Filipino because I'm Filipino. It's not I'm not putting a certain specific ethnicity down because it's going to help me with my application. No, it's beyond that. Like that's like being equity minded. That's not how it works. Every university has a different way of how they accept students. San Diego State has a different, unique way as well. To go back to talking about the admissions equation, again, they're looking at students based off of the high schools that they're coming from and also the neighborhood that they live. So their area codes come into play. But also, again, those college prep programs. But you did open another layer of like probably like an international student
Right.
who goes to the school and then never comes back.
Yeah.
That's just probably for me, if I'm looking for the aspect perspective, like outside perspective, I mean, that's just like, okay, I have a degree from that university, so that carries some weight. That's how I'm looking at it. Like, you're right. Like, they're not going to come back. It's right. International students don't, after they're done, they go back.
They're just using that name.
And so it's just because also, depending on where the educational systems are, especially in the universities, sometimes internationally, education may not be the best, unfortunately.
Right.
You can see that, like some students who are getting a degree from a different country and they come back here, sometimes it may or may not carry weight.
Right.
Not saying it doesn't, not saying it does, but you can see some hard, like it gets a little bit hard. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the question, I mean, the thing is, like, I'm curious about is that if we know, see, the thing is like, it's so that it's again a polarizing topic, right? Like if we know that they're just gonna come here, get an education and never come back, but they get accepted while you have thousands of other kids in San Diego that you know that if they got law degrees, they're going to practice law in San Diego. Engineering, they're going to practice engineering and whatever innovation in the United States. Is there like an algorithm that says, hold up, cut down on this and push this up?
You bring up a good point, and this is
you know,
that
me,
is a really good point.
And for me, it's polarizing because now the people that are thinking that I'm trying to like push for a quota on a set number of immigrants from another country to come here in the land of the free, to be able to get their education. But if those guys are coming here and then you have like, let's say 500,000 of them come here and says, we have this, we're going to take 500,000 spots. Where does our innovation and our hustle and our kids get demoralized? I can't even speak, because now they can't get in because now
these other people,
these spots are there.
So this is how I look at it, and this is not because of the knowledge that I know. At the end of the day,
that's what I was going to say. Money buys a lot of things at the end of the day.
Think about international students, they got money.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like out-of-state tuition students, they're paying for the money. You can definitely see that potential. And this has affected all the colleges because of COVID. You can see that there's a low number of applicants, and then looking at out-of-state applicants. So, yeah, to answer that question, it's probably going down to the main reason why everyone thinks it's money.
Yeah.
So it's basically just, like, do your fucking best, hustle your fucking ass off, and take over the world.
Exactly. There you go.
I mean, at least Nico was being real. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's be real. That's just what it is, right?
Yeah. That's the world we live in. That's why you got to hustle, guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, to go on a lighter note, Jesus.
It's a question, though.
No, it's a legit question, and you make a really good point.
Let me add another caveat. No, sorry. Let me add another thing. Listen,
we are round up.
in your hustle, you guys, you kids that are listening, in your hustles, there's going to be a winner and a loser. You have to make sure that in your hustle you are a winner. That's how economy works, right? That's how it works. Nothing can ever be equal. Right? If every country was able to support itself, what position do you have as a nation now? Right? If everybody in Southeast San Diego can feed themselves, why you open a liquor store? Nobody's buying shit. You know what I'm saying? There has to be a winner and a loser. And when you understand that guess what? Sometimes you're the winner, sometimes you're the loser. You just gotta get in your fucking hustle.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
That's his not nice way to be motivating, guys. I'm just kidding.
On a lighter note, what he's saying is work on your craft, and you win some, you lose some, but
ultimately you want to be the fucking winner.
Yeah.
Jesus.
That's also the military.
I was about to say, that's how
military.
you know.
That's the sad part, and that's the sad truth in the world.
That's true.
It is.
Right?
It is.
And
we've always kept it real on here.
For this nation to be the number one global superpower, some other nation has to crumble.
That's true.
And unfortunately, it's just the way it is.
That's true.
Okay, Kuya, we're on the
Take a breath. You're going to have a heart attack.
Woosah.
Okay. Anyway.
Rub the back of his neck, Vince, quick. No,
Do you need me to scratch your back?
The real reason why I do that is because I have a daughter.
Yeah.
And my daughter's going to have kids. And by 2035, what is this nation's going to look like?
Yeah, exactly.
If we can't sit there and say, we are fucking going to rule everything, we're going to get everybody else to rule us.
Right. It's true.
So figure that out. Figure that out in your hustle.
Yeah. Fix shit, guys. For the future. For the future.
And that's why we have counselors.
Exactly. Circle it back.
No,
that's
right. That's right. It's
do your job, buddy. You're gonna be like a military recruiter. You have an opportunity to defend the country in whatever you do.
He's gonna add that spiel. Like, goddamn, I need to fucking talk about defending the country now.
Oh my goodness.
Go ahead, Lonnie, with your lighter note.
Okay.
God, can we just dang, that was a little hard. But anyways, so
Sorry.
Don't say sorry. It's okay.
It's real. We keep it real here. when we were talking in the back, you're talking about like the legacy you want to keep and what you want to leave out in this world. What do you feel like that's the main thing, or what do you want to leave as your legacy?
Global superpower.
Personally, is give back to the places that's giving you the most. I think when I made my shift as a admissions counselor to actually a retention counselor, it made that part so much more better than I thought. Like, to help students get into the college is one thing, but now to keep them is a whole nother thing. You know, for me as a counselor, I am not there to judge. I'm not here to make any decisions on their behalf. I'm just a facilitator to their hopes and dreams.
I like that.
Whatever they decide to do, I will support them, but also keep it real with them at the end of the day. You know, there's a difference between telling them like, oh, this is what I think, this is what's best for you. No, it's more of like, what is realistic for you and what is the dream that you want? And if you're looking at that dream, are your efforts matching that dream?
Yeah.
Like, some of the pictures I would like to pull out is like, if I'm talking to a student, I'm like, draw your perfect house, your dream house. Would you think that strong people, the strong efforts are the people that make that house? They're like, yeah. Are you matching that same type of effort? So it's like, brings me back to my whole quote. Like, it's like, everyone wants to be self-made, but no one wants to be self-accountable.
Right.
So it's like, that's my legacy. It's like, for me, I hope that I can teach another student to go back to the place that they love, and teach another student, spit that type of knowledge, spit that game for them, so that they become that next agent of change for the next following.
Right.
It's like trickle down. It's like intergenerational, right? It's that knowledge. And so for me, it's like, that's the legacy for me. You know, being a Villa is beyond just knowing who Dr. Dario Villa is. Dr. Villa sounds a really nice tone for me, and I hope that I can get that. But for me,
you're gonna get that. You're gonna get that.
Thank you. But it's beyond just being a Villa. It's, for me, it's like, I want everyone to understand and remember what I've done at San Diego State, that a Filipino man of color from Southeast San Diego put that work together. That's my legacy. And I think for me, it's important that visibility component, that wherever I'm coming from, wherever the other students come from, they can do exactly that if they put their heart to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what I wanted to say, except it was more eloquent and more
less aggressive.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so we're gonna take that one, gonna like subtitle line. Or whatever.
Do you mind if I ask one closing question?
Course, yeah.
So it kind of goes along with your legacy. My question for you is, if you could leave your student with, like every student that you've touched, if they sat down and they were asked the question, what is it about, you know, Dr. Villa or whatever, you know, or what is it about him that made an impact in your life? What would you want them to speak? How would you want them to speak about you?
She won or not? She go, hey.
That's good. That's a great question.
Don't cry.
No.
I'm good.
I'ma
I'm
cry.
I'm good at that.
I'm gonna cry.
I pull out them feelings. You know what I'm saying?
You know, sometimes we're just a brick in a student's story, and I hope that for my students, I hope they can see that I was there and I served a bigger purpose for them. I hope that I was more than just a counselor, that I was maybe that older brother figure for them, maybe the parental figure that they didn't have, a collaborator to their story.
Love that.
And I hope that they can know that I've did my best to teach them all my mistakes and to do better, and to know that they've exceeded all my expectations at a higher level than I ever expected. And so I think this last thing, I want them to understand that they know that I saw them for who they were.
I love that.
And not like beyond their insecurities, beyond the potential disabilities. Like, they are the collaborator to their story, and they are the counter story to their story.
And this is why I chose him to be my guest. No.
Oh my, that's a good guess. Okay. I got a lot of things I can clip here, all these like deep quotes and analogies and stuff.
Clip that.
And we haven't even mentioned penises.
Oh
I
my
know.
whole
This is
episode.
how you know this is a grown-up episode. You guys, we didn't say vagina or penis, but we had to still say like,
I mean,
at the end of the day, we're still us.
We just had to remind you which podcast you're actually watching.
Exactly.
If you're watching, listening, you're
Exactly.
like, who are these guys? No, we haven't.
We're still here.
Yeah, we're still here.
Yeah. So,
Anyways,
on that note,
but yeah, no, Nico, for real, like, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Like, this is exactly why I wanted you to be on, just because how much volume you speak. And then, especially because of people who watch us, you know, you can give them your story and just make them basically beat to the ass. Like, this is what you got to do to help your kids. And you know what I mean? Like, not beat their ass, but you know what I'm saying.
or you could just be like, you know, you want some inspiration, watch the Be Uplifted podcast. This is my episode right here. You know?
That part. No. But yeah, you know, I've seen you grow from literally us kids. We always tell this story whenever people ask, like, how do we know each other? Going to freaking Hooters with our dads, you know, from there.
Speaking of boobies.
I had to put it in there. No, from there, and then just to the man you are, you know, you become now, and I can't wait to see what else the future holds for you. So, again, thank you so much for being part of our guest, and I hope we can see you again, maybe on like a lighter topic, a different topic, you know, if you're down. But yeah, so thanks again. And is there anything you want to plug before we, you know, close out?
Yeah, y'all follow EOP SDSU at San Diego State. Follow my Instagram as well, Nico Villa. I do post a lot of things about academics and, of course, my relationship. Shout out to Sydney Dean. I love you, baby girl.
Hey,
I love you, girl.
My fiance.
I'm gonna edit that out.
I'm gonna clip that just for him. Okay.
You're never gonna get it.
But nah, I think to end it off, like, yeah, believe the best is yet to come, y'all. Like, again, you are the director and producer of your life, and you have an opportunity to decide who gets to be the real actors in your life. And I do appreciate that for being here and giving me the time to just talk and just honestly just have a conversation. Like, it's a blessing for real from the bottom of my heart.
You're so welcome.
All right, guys. Well, before we close this, if you're in the San Diego area and you're looking to get those healthy meals in, make sure you hit up Mikey's Meals and use our code TheBabes10 to get that discount and get that money off. You know, get the summer coming around the corner. So make sure you guys hit that up. And then also, if you're looking for a studio, Ari, who should we hit up?
The Pixel Lounge SD.
Yep. And of course, if you got this far, thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Hit the
Thank
like
you.
button, and also don't forget to rate the podcast 5 stars. 5 stars only.
5.
You can comment now on Spotify. Do you know that? We have polls on there. So if you listen on Spotify, if you got this far,
Don't be shy.
we'll probably have like some weird questions at the end.
Exactly.
That you could get involved with, and probably sometimes those questions end up becoming podcast topics.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you guys on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.